Hey, good morning, everybody. It is May 15th, and we are here live at MarketStream.live. I want to welcome everybody to this new trading week. I cannot believe it's May 15th already, and we're already headlong into it. Now, the markets right now are a little bit mixed, but before we jump in, I want to introduce myself. There's a lot of new viewers on. My name is Joseph Cusick from the Cusick Group, securities offered by Money Block. This is the segment where we talk about everything that's happened overnight in Asia. Now, Monday has already occurred in the Asian markets. For those of you that are new to the markets, that means that we've already had a global trade occurring while you were sleeping. So let's wrap up everything that occurred, because this is going to impact your portfolio, whether you know it or not. 10, even 20% of your portfolio is going to be made up of stocks in commodities that are either produced or trade in these markets. And specifically, we're going to talk about China, Japan, Hong Kong, and India. These are the four biggies in the Asian Pacific range area, and this is where we want to take a look. And we take a look at China first this morning. The Shanghai Composite, basically a lackluster up 0.2%. That's good for $6.70 at 3,090. Now, for most of you, you're like, Shanghai Composite, maybe you've heard it on the news, don't really understand it, don't know why I need to care. This is why you need to care. The Chinese came out with some economic data, much like what you will hear released here in the States. And specifically, we saw retail sales come out last night at 10.6%. Now that sounds pretty robust when you think about retail sales here in the States, which are usually well sub the 10% level. But it was a couple ticks below expectations. So that put traders and investors alike, specifically in China, on notice. It also put institutional investors going, whoa, what's going on here? What really got investors and traders scratching their heads, because we've seen some mixed data out of China, was the industrial production number. It came in at 6.5%. That was 0.5% below expectations of 7%. Now, that is something that we're going to want to watch very closely. Is China starting to slow down? Even though we're seeing inflation, yes, you're seeing goods, you're seeing commodities increasing in price, but what happens if we're having a little bit of a slowdown because of all the stimulus that's been put into all of these different economies? What happens if maybe things aren't growing as fast as we need them to keep up with potential inflation that's on front? That is going to be something we're going to watch very closely. And China is one of those areas, being a net exporter, but also one of the biggies now that's out there, and that's going to be a good barometer of what's going on. So we're going to watch that very closely. That's going to impact the market significantly, but you could see, though, the Shanghai Composite did not bat too much of an eye at it. Still basically trading in that flat zone, but folks, the bears in China are still in control. This chart that you're looking at behind me has a 20 and a 50 and a 200-day moving averages. These are the measuring sticks that I use to give me some insight on who is in control of the market. And right now, because the market is trading below these moving averages, all that's telling me is that right now the sentiment is bearish in China. We're going to want to keep an eye on that, especially since the global markets are moving to the upside. Now, off of the mainland, though, we still have Hong Kong. Hong Kong's been moving to the upside. As a matter of fact, we're seeing Hong Kong at levels that we haven't seen since 2015. You could see clearly that this chart is where the bulls are clearly in control, above the 20, 50, and 200-day moving average. So knowing this and having context of who's in control as far as the bulls or the bears, or if the market's just neutral, and neutral means that they're trading in between these two lines, between the 20 and 50-day moving line. But right now, the bulls in Hong Kong are in control. Why? Well, Hong Kong is a financial hub for mainland China, and it also has things like gaming, so casinos and other components that really are doing quite well. Also, they have some energy exposure as well. And with crude markets now up, and we'll talk a little bit about that also in the European section, is also in the opening here on the U.S. markets. That's been helping Hong Kong at this juncture. Since they're not a net exporter like the mainland, the Hang Seng has been moving to the upside. This is interesting. You can actually put exposure of Hong Kong into your portfolio, like EWH is an ETF that tracks the Hang Seng. If you feel like maybe this is getting a little too hot, maybe there could be some pressure, maybe this could pull back, there's also, you can use EWH and maybe do some interesting strategies like bear put spreads or bear call spreads. These are option strategies, for those of you that don't know options, that I talk about in Strategy Now here at MarketStream.live at 1:30 Eastern Time. So some interesting action there. Again, watch the energy names, though. That's going to be a driver in Hong Kong right now. With the fact that the OPEC nations and Russia met and are going to extend their production cuts. Whether or not you knew this, they're going to extend production cuts that they put in place late last year, not only for the next 6 months, but they're saying through 2018. Now, that was a discussion. I take it for what it's worth. For those of you that have been listening to me for quite a few months, even over the last year, you'll know that I am very apprehensive about believing anything out of OPEC nations and non-OPEC nations as far as adhering to any type of production cuts, because when they cut their production, that means that they're cutting revenue, and these countries need revenue. So we'll see. North $50 on the Brent contract, on the Brent crude contract, that could be difficult for some nations to say that they're not going to start to get those pumps primed and get some quantity out there as far as some product. And then finally, India. India is one of those meccas right now over the last 6 months that has been to the upside. There was a small challenge earlier in 2017, but you can see this is the neutral area. The bulls were still in control, but they had their heels dug in. They needed to make a stand, and they did. This was back in April. In May, they're grinding to the upside. Watch India. There's a couple areas. We saw that steel and coal, Tata Steel and Coal India, were both to the upside overnight. That's interesting with the fact that you have some infrastructure plays and some energy plays to the upside. These were up about 0.5% to 4% respectively. What is, though, interesting is that you're starting to see names like Infosys. These are these consulting groups that a lot of companies have outsourced. They were down 1.2%. Let's see if there's going to be some pressure. We did see, and we're going to talk about the G7 meeting at 8:45 Eastern Time over in Europe, but nationalism has been something that's been on the rise. They're trying to keep things in-house, both in Europe, here in the United States. So let's see if this actually impacts that segment in India, but India has been moving to the upside. Let's see if they may be taking a breather, but they were up 133 points. That was good for a 0.4% move to the upside at 30,322. So some interesting action in India. We're going to keep an eye on that. All right, folks, that is it for the overnight action report for Asia. Join us at 8:45 Eastern Time. That is 7:45 Central. I'm going to be talking about everything that's going on in Europe. And if you ever want to catch up on our videos, go to Facebook and go to @MarketStream. @MarketStream on Facebook. You can catch up on all of our different videos, or you can go to our website, MarketStream.live, and we have a ton of premium content there as well. All right, we'll see you in a little bit for the European Open. See you then.